Hello and welcome. My name is Matthias.
And I'm Henrik.
We're about to take a trip around Stockholm to take a look at the different venues where Iron Maiden have played over the years.
Yes, we're going to take a look at the venues, where they are, and tell you what years they played where, and possibly even why. That's about it, I guess.
Yeah, and what better place to start than here at Eriksdalshallen on Södermalm in the central parts of Stockholm.
Yes, but to get a more interesting view, let's go around the front. This is Eriksdalshallen. This is where Iron Maiden played their first ever Swedish gig on Thursday the 9th of October 1980 as support act to Kiss on their Unmasked tour. The hall takes its name from the area Eriksdal on the island of Södermalm in central Stockholm. Hallen just means the hall. Eriksdalshallen is still in use and it's run by Stockholm Stad, the Stockholm municipality, for various sporting activities and events. The hall was opened in 1938. The residential buildings you see here on the sides were built in 2005, so in 1980 they could still house music events here without upsetting the neighbors. Eriksdalshallen is actually two halls. The smaller hall is behind the screen at the far end. The floor of the small hall is about a meter higher than that of the main hall, and this is quite clever. At events, the floor of the small hall behind the screen has been used as the stage, so you get a sort of natural frame around it. The backstage area would then have been the remainder of the small hall and the dressing rooms. There's been a long-lasting myth that Johanneshovs Isstadion was supposedly closed for renovations and that the gig was placed here as a consequence of that. However, as outlined brilliantly in Johan Falks book Kiss i Sverige on Kiss in Sweden, Johanneshovs Isstadion was in use for a hockey game that very same night. Kiss were planned to play Eriksdalshallen already in May, but those plans were scrapped. The rescheduled gig was still booked here because the promoter didn't think they would sell enough tickets to motivate booking the larger and more expensive Johanneshovs Isstadion. A possible origin for the rumor or for the renovations is that there were discussions about renovating Johanneshovs Isstadion around that time. However, the discussions came to the conclusion that they would not renovate, but they were going to build a new venue instead. And that new venue would see the light of day in 1989, and we will encounter that later on in this little video clip.
Now we're just a short walk from Eriksdalshallen at the venue Göta Lejon close to Medborgarplatsen. This is where Iron Maiden played their second gig in Stockholm on the 8th of September 1981 on their Killer World Tour. Göta Lejon was opened in 1928. Back then it was a movie theatre. In the 60s it was rebuilt to accommodate movie screenings and stage plays. At the end of the 70s they started putting on gigs here, and that continued through the 80s. Nowadays it's used for musical shows and concerts. The maximum capacity today is 1,300 seated, but we don't know the numbers for the Maiden show. The Killer World Tour was Maiden's first headline tour in Europe. The Scandinavian gigs were originally scheduled in May 1981, but they were cancelled, along with some German dates, because of problems with Paul Di'Anno. The Scandinavian gigs were rescheduled for the autumn and proved to be Di'Anno's last gigs with the band. And for Bruce Dickinson's first gig in Sweden, we need to go south. See you now.
It's 1983 and we're outside Johanneshovs Isstadion. Iron Maiden played here as part of their Peace of Mind tour. The support band was Rock Goddess. The gig took place on the 5th of June, which incidentally is Nicky McBrain's birthday. And there's a classic vinyl bootleg, cunningly titled Heavy Birthday, recorded here, where you can hear the crowd sing Happy Birthday to him. Keen-eyed viewers may have spotted that there's no gig in 1982. Gigs were originally planned for later that year, but the US leg of the Beast on the Road tour kept getting extended, so the Scandinavian dates were omitted from the plans. Another Stockholm connection in 1983 is issue number 3 of the fanzine The Hammer. The back cover has a drawing of Eddie climbing the Stockholm City Hall. The illustration was made by Johan Holm, co-founder of the fanzine, who also made the album covers for the Swedish metal band Heavy Load.
Now it's the 2nd of November 1984. It's the World Slavery Tour with opening band Mötley Crüe playing again at Johanneshov's Isstadion.
But wait a minute, it says Hovet above the entrance.
Yeah, the name comes from Johannes Hov, meaning hov as in court. So people called Johanneshov's Isstadion Hovet. And in 1989 it got that name officially. Isstadion means ice stadium. There's no big mystery to that.
Well, here we are in one of the dressing rooms at Johanneshov's Isstadion. In 1986, Iron Maiden played here as part of the Somewhere in Time tour on the 14th of November. Supporting act was Wasp. And now let's go to the stage. It's all set up for Iron Maiden on Ice.
The venue Johanneshov's Isstadion was opened in 1955. Back then it was just a hole in the ground. Literally. The roof and the walls were added in 1962 in preparation for some kind of world championships in ice hockey the following year. What else? Yeah, Iron Maiden happened to play here in 1988 on the 7th tour of the 7th tour on the 30th of September with Halloween as opening act.
How about that?
Great.
It's 1990 and there's no prize for guessing the venue. Yes, we're still at Johanneshov's Isstadion. Iron Maiden played here as part of their No Prayer on the Road tour. Supporting act was Anthrax. It was the 10th of November 1990. And this was incidentally my first Iron Maiden gig.
Now it's the 29th of August in 1992, and once again Iron Maiden is to play Stockholm on the Fjärde Dag tour. But not in here, but in there, at Globen, at the Globe. Opening act was Testament. The gig was recorded, and Afraid to Shoot Strangers would later appear on the A Real Live One album. What did not appear on that album was the Air Sex show that took place on stage. The night before the show, Bruce, Dave and Jannik were guests at a TV show called Ikväll Robert Aschberg and were asked to be judges in an air sex competition. They invited the winning couple to perform their act on stage during Heaven Can Wait in front of the subsequently bewildered audience. You can find it on the World Wide Web.
Welcome to Cirkus. This is the venue Iron Maiden played on the 29th of October in 1995 as part of their X Factor tour. Supporting band was My Dying Bride. The place has a capacity for 1,750 people and it was a sold-out gig. Cirkus is a bit away from the city centre on the island Djurgården, an island with loads of museums, an amusement park and a zoo within walking distance from one another. Cirkus means circus, and this place was actually built and used as a circus. It was opened in 1892 and it's the oldest venue Iron Maiden have played in Stockholm. The seats on the floor can be removed and this was of course done for the Maiden gig. The stage and the dressing rooms have been remodeled since 1995, but the load-in is just the same, and it surely must be the shortest load-in in Stockholm.
It's now 1998, the 25th of September. We're back once again at Johanneshovs Isstadion. This time Iron Maiden played with Dirty Deeds and Halloween as opening acts to a sold-out crowd of 9,000 maximum capacity.
It's 1999, Bruce and Adrian are back in the band, it's the Ed Hunter tour, and on the 17th of September, Iron Maiden are playing the globe for the second time. Supporting act was Megadeth. The original plans to renovate and upgrade Johanneshovs Isstadion in the early 80s were scrapped in favor for constructing this new arena, and Globen was opened on the 19th of February 1989. It's the biggest spherical building in the world, and it can take 16,000 people during music events. When the Maiden date in 1999 was announced, the demand for tickets was extremely high and the gig sold out in a matter of hours. This was the first time a Maiden gig had been met with this kind of ticket hysteria, most certainly down to the fact that Bruce and Adrian were now back in the band.
This is the Stockholm Olympic Stadium in the eastern parts of Stockholm city in Östermalm. Stadion, as it's known to most Stockholmers, opened in 1912, and it's the oldest Olympic arena in the world that's still in use. In 2000, Iron Maiden played to nearly 27,000 people at Stockholm Stadium on the 27th of June on the Brave New World Tour. Opening acts were Slayer and Entombed. This was the first Stockholm gig to be recorded and broadcasted by Swedish National Radio P3. The gig on the 27th of July in 2000 was originally supposed to have been played at the Sjöhistoriska Museet, the Naval History Museum here in Stockholm. But as it sold out so quickly, it was moved to this venue. And if memory serves us right, this very gig in 2000 could have been, up till that date, been the biggest gig in their career under their own name, meaning not at the festival and such. Incidentally, half the band ended up at Sjöhistoriska Museet anyway the following day, as they watched Pearl Jam play from the side of the stage. Singer Eddie Vedder even got the audience to say goodbye Maiden when they left the venue before the end of the show.
It's 2003 and Iron Maiden are yet again playing the Stockholm Stadium. It's the 28th of June and Maiden are playing here as part of their Give Me Ed Till I'm Dead tour. Support band was Murder Dolls. And here we are looking into the venue from the side, and the stage would have been up left. This is where they usually put the stage at gigs at Stockholm Stadion. The audience is illustrated by the green bit. Swedish National Radio also recorded this gig, and it would turn out to be one of their most requested rebroadcasts ever.
It's still 2003, more precisely on the 14th of November, and Iron Maiden are yet again back in Stockholm, this time on their Dance of Death tour. Opening act was Funeral for a Friend.
And they played where?
In there. So here we are in one of the dressing rooms in Globen. So take a walk with me and we'll find where Iron Maiden have walked many times during one of the many gigs here. It's soon 2 minutes to midnight. This way. And voila.
We are at Globen again. It's 2006 and time for the A Matter of Life and Death tour. Originally, Iron Maiden was planned to play 2 gigs here on the 17th and 18th of November, but the tickets sold out so quickly that a 3rd date was added on the 25th. Support act on these 3 gigs were Trivium. Swedish National Radio recorded the gig on the 18th for a later broadcast on Swedish National Radio P3. On a girder in the Globen foyer, you can see Iron Maiden depicted with the date November 17, 2006, the first of the 3 gigs. This is one of many images of artists around the foyer made by illustrator Dennis Eriksson to tie in with the 25th anniversary of Globen. When the final wrapping for the Iron Maiden image was produced, the members were slightly rearranged to fit the shape of the girder. Somehow in this process, Adrian Smith disappeared. The first version of the work features a different Bruce and has Adrian on it as well.
On the 16th of July in 2008, Iron Maiden returned with their Power Slave inspired set on the Sommarbacken Time Tour to play here. Once again for sold out Stockholm Stadium. Special guests were Lauren Harris and Avenged Sevenfold. Now we're at Stora Skuggan in Stockholm. Stora Skuggan translates something like the Great Shade, and it's a name that dates many hundred years back in time. As you can see, this isn't really a venue per se. This is actually a part of the Royal National City Park. This whole area that we see around us was part of the Sonisphere Festival. The main stage on which Iron Maiden played on the 7th of August in 2010 was down there by the pond. It's behind the grass, down there, believe me. There was a second stage in that direction and a third smaller stage at the far end of the pond. Actually, this was the last time this site was used for festivals. In true festival manner, the whole day it rained. It rained and it rained, so it was just a pit of mud everywhere. But the same minute that Maiden entered stage, it stopped raining. And when they stopped playing, it started raining again. It's quite beautiful, I think.
And now I'm standing where the stage is, but I am facing in the direction of the stage. The audience would actually have been here, and there it is.
Yes, I was on that day, along with 47,000 people. Quite a lot. This was the festival site, Stora Skuggan.
And the stage would have been here somewhere.
The big stage.
And the smaller stage. And the sheep.
And the very big sheep and the tiny stage.
Yeah. And that's it from Sonisphere 2010. This is Friends Arena. Iron Maiden played here in 2013 on the 13th of July as part of the Made in England tour. Supporting acts were Voodoo 6 and Sabaton. The arena was opened in October 2012 and has a maximum capacity of 75,000 people, and it can change configuration to accommodate the promoters' requests. Maiden played to a sold-out crowd of 55,531 people, their biggest audience in Stockholm. But we're technically speaking not in Stockholm, rather in the neighbouring municipality Solna. However, since it's so near Stockholm city, gigs here are conventionally viewed as Stockholm gigs. The floor is accessed through Gate 1 and Gate 2, situated 1 story below the main entrances to the venue. These are accessed via a set of stairs on either side of the arena. There was a bit of a controversy around this gig. The area was under construction and parts of the venue weren't even finished. The sound was awful in the huge arena, with the sound bouncing off the walls. It was especially bad for those further from the stage on the balconies. Some people even claimed their money back.
We're now at the end of our journey. This is Tele2 Arena. It was opened in 2013 and Iron Maiden made their debut gig on the 1st of June 2018 on the Legacy of the Beast tour. Opening act was Killswitch Engage. The arena is situated in the Johanneshovs area next to Hovet and Globen. The project name for the arena was Stockholms Arenan, the Stockholm Arena, and there are traces of that to be found in the area. We are now inside Tele2 Arena, above where the stage would be at. And yeah, it's a big place. The arena has a capacity for 40,000 plus, depending on configuration, and Maiden played to an audience of 37,221 people. This is the load-in, located at the back of the arena opposite to the stage. As you can see, they raise a whole section of seating to gain access. The section can then be lowered, making the whole construction invisible during the gig. And with that, it's goodbye from Tele2.
Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed our little tour of the venues in Stockholm.
And we'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who helped us out showing their venues.
Please comment below if you liked or disliked or have anything to add or correct to our information given in this video.
We also like to see the venues in your town where Iron Maiden played over the years, so get out there, show and tell.
Yes, that's it from us.
Bye bye! And the stage would have been at the far end down by the water.
The place actually was a circus, and it was opened in 1892. And it is in fact the oldest venue that Iron Maiden have played, that at least that we're going to show you.
And please come this way and we will see the actual site where the band played in 2000, 2003 and 2008. About here above me. The stage floor must have been somewhere here, I think, according to our calculations. Maybe even a bit higher up. And here about, I think, the front row bangers must have stood. The band played to a sold-out crowd of almost 38,000 spectators. Opening act was Killswitch Engage.